All right, 1088 is officially out, and yes, I have already talked about it, like plot point by plot point, and just reactions to it in a previous video when the fan translation was out. So we can watch that. You can watch that if you just want me to talk about the plot and how much I adored it, because I did. I adored it. But this one, I really want to talk about the differences between the fan translation and the official release. There was nothing major whatsoever. If you want to just skip past it, I just got like 6 little examples of lines that I felt was delivered better in one way or the other. But the final one does have a small implication that I think might maybe carry forward into the upcoming one. Or the upcoming chapters, and then I have just me theorizing of what I want and what I hope happens, and chances are I'm going to be wrong. Before I get into all that, I do want to say that I know the longer trailer is out. I'm going to film my reaction to that. I have not watched it yet because I just haven't had the time. Work has been absolutely insane. However, I sadly will not be able to post it, possibly anytime soon, just because the actors are on strike. They did ask for people to not promote the material kind of thing. I realize I am not the kind of person they were talking to. They were talking to like actual influencers with lots of subscribers and all that, and they would prefer not to do organic promotions of struck work. But I feel like I can't cross a picket line, okay? I just cannot. And it just feels a little too iffy for me to talk about the live action adaptation at this time while they're still striking. I completely understand other people reacting to it. This is all fun for me. This is not my job. So there's a reason I don't say like, comment, and subscribe on these videos, because I'm just talking. I could be misinterpreting what they even said. But for the time being, I'm holding off until a couple other creators that I do follow and watch. If they start posting things about the live action, I'll be like, okay, they probably did their research. They probably know if it's morally okay to talk about it. Moving on. We are moving on. Starting with the scene with them on Amazon Lily as Blackbeard pirates are kidnapping the Marines and holding them hostage. And the Vice Admiral there does not want to engage because you can't fight an emperor of the sea without express orders from upper command. So the fan translation in this, in my opinion, does this the best. Just because I'm going to choose the emotional response over the official felt more like exposition. So the official translation says, Vice Admiral, how can we sit by while our people are held captive? They're not giving us clearance to go. He's an emperor of the sea, after all. While the fan translation says, this is unbearable. Vice Admiral, even if he is an emperor, are we meant to sit back while he takes our fellow officers just because we don't have permission to engage? So the official translation just kind of feels a little bit more stiff to me, and it does feel like a conversation between the two characters rather than just one person talking. And it does feel like it's there to give me the exposition, where the other one, the fan translation, it's like the order had already been given. Guys, stand down. We don't have permission to engage. And someone just in an emotional verge of insubordination is just like, Vice Admiral, this isn't right. I don't care he's an emperor of the sea. We can't just stand by. How come we're standing by while our people are being taken from us and we're not acting? So one, again, feels like a conversation between the two, and it's there for the point of exposition, while the other one has a very more emotional narrative feeling vibe to me. Personal opinion. Okay, this is me being nitpicky. This is me being nitpicky as hell because it's a single line of dialogue. But when the hand is coming down to crush the ship and everyone is panicking and turning to Garp and being like, Garp, what do we do? Come on, how do we handle this? What do we do? And Garp turns them and gives the order. It's a single line of dialogue, and I just like it a little bit more in the fan translation. So the fan translation says, don't worry, you guys got this. Get ready, I'll give you an opening. And it's taking that extra second to say, don't worry, almost offering a little bit of care to the people in his command. And it just goes very well with that grin and smile that he has. Whereas the official translation says, so they're saying, Garp, what do we do? And the official cuts immediate to, you boys can save them. Listen close, I'll give you an opening. And it's so abrupt in the official one when I was reading it. Like, it just a little bit of a sudden tonal shift. It was so jarring in that moment when I'm reading it. And that could be the vibe that Oda's going for. It should have been that quick shift from panic to, what the hell do you mean we gotta do this? But I feel it contradicted a little bit with that big grin that Garp had. And I just liked it a teeny tiny bit more in the fan translation. Continuing on from that scene, so Garp has just given the orders for how he's going to give him an opening. Koby's going to destroy the hand. Helmeppo's going to keep everyone away, and Prince is going to catch all the debris. So they're like, what the hell do you mean? What, you expect us to do this? How? And Garp says, in the official, be decisive, snap judgments. Now fly. Quite honestly, if I had not read the fan translation first, I might not have even half understood what he was talking about. I would have got the vibe, like, okay, just go, don't overthink it. But the fan translation, he comes out and says, never second guess yourself in the heat of the moment, now go. A little bit more clear in his intentions, and in the heat of battle, I feel like his last minute pep talk, one of the final words he's going to say to them, and advice he can offer, it really should be clear and direct. The official does get the win, though, in terms of when Garp is going to attack the island fruit guy and the hand's coming down. Because in the official, the island fruit guy is saying, wait, don't you care about your ships? Because Garp surprisingly went and attacked him rather than going to protect and save the ships. But it really was a distraction for the other ones to get there, and for Garp to allow the buddy to raise his hand as more of a distraction. And then in the fan translation, it's something along the lines of oh no, I gotta focus, can't be distracted, I need to crush the ship. So I do like the emphasis that the official put on Garp choosing to attack the island as if to forget about the ships and not protecting them, but really it shows that Garp's faith in his students to handle that job and the trust he has in them. So just a very subtle, different vibe I was getting in that moment. All right, this is me being nitpicky. This is being me nitpicky as hell, but I get a completely different vibe when it comes to a single line of dialogue with Prince between the fan translation and the official translation. So the hand is coming down to crush the ship, and Koby has just destroyed it with that big punch of his. I still don't know if it's just armored hockey. I think it is, or if there might be a little bit of hint of Conqueror's hockey in there. I'm going with the armored hockey, regardless. And he has caught all the debris and all that, but he turns to Koby and is just like, when did you get this kind of power? So in the official translation, it's kind of this shock and awe. He's amazed and he doesn't believe that Koby has come this far. Probably remembering him as that little kid from the East Blue that they had come up from training with. He was probably the worst one in his class. He didn't have the natural talent. He didn't progress through the Marines the way that others did. He didn't have that natural talent. And now seeing that difference from that one that he went to academy with, destroying a hand that could destroy a battleship, he's just like, when did you get this power? It feels more of an awe of how far Koby has come. To me, that is the impression I'm getting. However, in the fan translation, he says, you've been hiding your strength all this time. And to me, it feels more like an accusation. It feels more like Prince thinks very highly of himself and feels like, oh, Koby's now gotten one up on me. He might have been laughing at me all this time because I've progressed up the ranks, but here he is with all this power. And again, that is me reading into it far too heavily, but it's just a slightly different vibe. Oh my god, shock and awe, I'm impressed with how far you've come, or I'm in shock with how far you've come, versus I feel like you were hiding and keeping something from me. There's more accusation in that tone. Very subtle tone. I'm probably completely off, but that is a very mild vibe difference that I'm getting between the two. This one I am mildly annoyed of, because I like it when mentors and students kind of share similar ways of speaking. It just kind of shows you're close when you start being a little bit, not repetitive and not technically mimicking, but just you pick up phrases and talk like each other. So in the fan translation, when Garp gave the order to destroy the hand, Koby had said he didn't know how he was going to destroy the hand, but he would figure something out. And then when Garp has to call over the snail phone and being like, the mission is a success, you saved Koby, get out of here, you have to leave me behind, I'll figure something out. And it was probably completely unintentional, but the fact that in that life or death situation, everything is turned against you, both Garp and Koby, using the same phrasing as I'll figure something out, I just like that itty bitty little line parallel. Where in the official translation, it's not even there. Koby just says, I'll make do, and Garp says, I'll manage on my own. So it lacks that little bond between teacher and student. Subtle as hell, but it was something I picked up on the first time, or probably the second time I read it through. But I did appreciate it when I noticed it. All right, and here's the final difference that I found was worth noting, because there was other little line differences, but this one here, at the very end, the official states that the incident in which Straw Hat Luffy, Emperor of the Sea, God love my boy, barricades himself within future islands. Compared that to the fan translation where it says Emperor Straw Hat Luffy, I love my boy, would face a siege on the island of the future. So in the official translation, we have it referred to simply as a barricade, and in the fan translation, it's called a siege. Yes, these two things are extremely similar, but again, I'm getting a slightly different vibe, and my interpretation and love of A Song of Ice and Fire maybe playing a role here, just because I so heavily associate siege with you are being blocked in, again, I could say barricaded in, so it makes it the same exact thing, but you're blocked in and you don't have the option of escaping. So a siege, I picture like the army outside trying to starve you out and take over. Whereas a barricade, I almost feel like your intention is to keep them out. Not that you don't have the option to flee, like you could flee, but that's not an option because the goal is to keep them out. Whereas siege is if you could run, you would. So ever so slightly different vibe I'm getting. So I'm leaning towards the idea of they could escape, whether that be with the technology on Egghead Island or they might be able to get to the Sunny or anything like that. But there's something in the lab that they have to do first before they can run. So the goal is to buy themselves time to keep Kuzan and Saturn and the Blackbeard pirates out while they get whatever inside done that they need to. This could be to find Vegapunk, to take the time to find him. They're just making a force to keep them out while they look for him. Or it could, I'm leaning a little bit more towards they find out with the pawpaw fruit thing and Kuma's memories, and they're looking into that. I did mention the Blackbeard pirates, so there's another play involved. So the only two of the Blackbeard pirates that are currently missing is the one with the nine-tailed fox fruit, the girl who's Katarina? I promise not to let my love of Kurama influence my opinion on this character, but so they have the ability to also make clones of, I assume themselves, but also other people, like almost like an illusion. And the fact that Egghead has all these different holograms and can't really trust what you see, and I said that would play a cool role if someone takes advantage of that and can't trust what they're seeing and have to fight, it would also work great against the enemy, and it would also probably play well into not trusting what you see and have that pirate as a clone influence and get into Egghead and trick the Straw Hats. We are also missing the mime guy, Lafayette? Ooh, I'm bad with names. Lafayette. He's got wings, but he's also a good hypnotist. So both the Blackbeard pirates would be good for infiltration and a stealth mission, and I'm very excited to see what happens with them. Back inside, if they are buying time to get to Vegapunk and not something with Kuma, we also have the issue with York. So she has Vegapunk held hostage, and her goal is to become a celestial dragon, even though we know that she knows the world government wants Vegapunk and her killed. So there's a couple different things I'm thinking with her. The first being that she had sent the cute little baby boa, snake, to a certain point of the lab to protect this area. So there could be a hidden area in the lab that she wants protected. She could have been talking to Vegapunk, could be using him as a hostage still for the world government, but I'm leaning towards a different area. And in there, we could have something as shocking as another poneglyph, just because when I'm thinking of what it would take to become a celestial dragon, well, they're born from like bloodlines and the original families. So how would she convince someone I deserve to be a celestial dragon if I'm not a member of these families? To give the world government the final poneglyph so no one can get to Laugh-Tale and likely not learn the truth of the world history and all that, so possibly it would have to be a road poneglyph, or it could maybe be the poneglyph that reveals a big truth of the Void Century. But being like, I have this here, I'm giving it to you, I have now secured the world government's safety in protection of this knowledge that no one can ever know. So if that is the case, I can see her maybe being elevated because she's protected the world government. I can also see if she's like kidnapped a celestial dragon or cloned one or doing something with blood, whether that be injecting into her, because we did see the seraphims getting the blood to get their devil fruit, so maybe she's got some experimentation where, hey, technically I now have the blood of a celestial dragon. I don't overly like that idea, but maybe. I'm also wondering why she's holding the CP numbers hostage still, because that was mostly to get suspicion on the island as a whole and get them there. But could it have been specifically to draw CP0, like she was waiting for them to show up? Was she waiting to expose Vegapunk had a spy within the world government in my darling angel Stussy? Because I'm not okay with her getting thrown under the bus. But there's questions concerning her motives, her plans, and how the hell she expects to become a celestial dragon. Ooh, I had another idea, which was the founding families that brought all the kingdoms together to make the world government. What if her plan is to bring in another nations, like I had brought to the 21st nation to join the world government, however many numbers there are. And she's done something to give them Wano. Like, I have made this technology that can bring down Wano's borders, and probably she doesn't even know that that would also allow them to get the Pluton, but like, hey, I can give you access to Wano, make me a celestial dragon. That might be, I doubt it, I highly doubt it, but that is a possibility for where we could go. And I like the idea of her doing her own research and anything like on the side, just because everyone had been using her in the past. Hey, you need to eat this much food because I need to do research. You need to sleep this much because I need to do this. So her working on some secret area of the lab, whether that be something with the blood of a celestial dragon or a history section, and she had been the one to track down one of the poneglyphs, or she created this weapon that is the strength to bring down Wano's borders, some kind of epic things like, look what I can do, I'm more than just someone to take care of these other things while you work on more important research. I'm good with any of those ideas. Back to Koby, my darling sweet boy. I like what we're doing with his story, obviously. I'm a big fan of starting from this weaker power and building our way up in terms of strength. But I can see, now he's inherited more or less Garp's will, the duty to protect people. And what I want most is for him not only to inherit Garp's will of protecting the future, but maybe fixing upon that, because Garp had said, like, save the baby or the old man. You can't just leave yourself behind and let those two escape. You have the potential, the limitless power of the youth and the future. Leave the old geezer behind. I can definitely see Koby reflecting back on this lesson one day where he has to make a choice between saving himself or maybe directly an older man, and he thinks back on this lesson, but chooses to disregard, saying, I'm sorry, Garp, but I will protect everyone, and he finds the strength to not only protect the future, but protect the current and past generations as well. I like that idea. I don't want him to have to abandon someone, but it's a very flawed way of thinking, but it's also, Garp might have a point. You have to protect the future. So I want to see what Koby does with that. I also really want him to see him fight Kuzan, just because to see Garp's former and current pupil going up against each other and the different ideologies that they have. So Kuzan definitely traumatized by the world government as a whole, but seeing all the innocent people die in Ohara and the world government not caring about putting a mass murderer, magma bastard as fleet admiral, and doesn't see that's right and sees all these criticisms with the government and wants to make a change and wants to just find his own meaning for justice and what he's searching for, going up against Garp's ideologies in the form of Koby, and then he had to go up against Garp himself, his former teacher. Delight. I loved it. But I want to see these two fight in earnest one day soon. Going into, like, tinfoil hattie, there's no way in hell this is happening. I would love for Oda to do, like, a soft flashback, more or less, where we had the flashback with Kuzan talking with Blackbeard and how they kind of met and found common ground. And now I'd love to return to that flashback, but we just zoom out a little bit, and is Ivankov or someone from the Revolutionary Army being there and just been like, all right, our new recruit has made contact with Blackbeard. I want, like, Kuzan to be undercover in the Revolutionary Army because I want Dragon to come save his father. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. There's no reason for the Revolutionary Army to be going after Blackbeard, for him to be a plant for them. Does not make sense. I just really want Luffy, Garp, and Dragon coming together, these 3 generations fighting together. I want Dragon and Luffy to, or at least minimal, I want Dragon to save his father. If Luffy comes in too, I would love that as well. Just coming in to save Garp. It does not make sense narratively at all. So the more likely explanation for how we're getting Garp out there, because there's no way in hell he's dead. I don't trust Oda to kill a character. This would have been a good way for Garp to go out if we had set up previously that deaths actually happen in One Piece, but no actual confirmed body, not dead. We need full-on fist through stomach, crushing my heart and soul before I believe a character is dead. So it has been pointed out many times that Kuzan had used his ice spear to go through pretty much the same hole in Garp's chest that the invisible guy had made, so likely stopping the bleeding. We also have the inaction he took where he could have frozen the entire ocean to stop the ship from escaping, yet he didn't. So the point that he didn't stop that ship really means like he wanted them to get away. And we see him using the ice time capsule thing on Garp, as we just established with Saul that he's still alive. So Kuzan has saved Garp in a way. He had to have, whether this was a plan from the beginning, whether Kuzan is working for Sword, or if he told Garp his plans, like, hey, I need to get close to Blackbeard. What do I do if, while I'm undercover going up to get info on Blackbeard, getting close to him, I have to kill somebody? You do what you need to do to gain his trust for her X plan. Like, Kuzan's got a plan, and it did not involve killing Garp. So, Garp's alive. He's going to be traded for something to make Pirate Island an official nation. We're going to have another rescue mission. We have to, after the siege on Egghead. While there's a siege on Egghead, maybe that's when Dragon can come save Garp. I really want Dragon to come save Garp. No idea what could possibly happen. All these ideas kind of seemed a little bit too crazy. I'm excited to see what Oda does. There is a break week, and I am sad about it. I will talk to you later.